Hello, horror heads, and welcome to the show. This week we're joined by Blaine J from the Video Games to Movie podcast and the Is It Worth It podcast. He helps us break down the featured movie that was actually his selection. All I'm going to say about it right now is that it was interesting. Because, believe me, we're going to have lots to say about it later. If you have a movie suggestion for us, we're going to tell you how you can do that at the end of the show. Plus, we're going to give you some details about our It Pennywise giveaway draw. So with all that to look forward to, let's get started. My name is Sheldon, and this is The Graveyard Shift, Horror with Sheldon and Mike. Here we go. Welcome to episode 15 of the Graveyard Shift Horror Podcast, where each week we watch a movie from the horror category and chop it up into easily digestible bite-sized morsels. We'll talk about the plot, some production notes, the things we liked, the things we didn't like, and the things that just left us scratching our heads. And yes, I said we because nobody wants to work the Graveyard Shift alone. Please say hello to the guy whose last game of Truth or Dare resulted in the police and animal control services being called, my co-host, Mike.
Hey, everybody.
Mike, how are you doing today, sir?
Pretty darn good. I not only got to see this movie, but I even got to watch it with one of our fans.
Oh, wow.
I decided to spread the discovery. To share the discovery.
Okay, Mike, I gotta ask. You're not abusing your celebrity status, are you?
I have celebrity status?
You know.
Well, shit, I gotta start abusing that then.
Well, yeah, this was a good selection, and it brings up to this point because we have someone joining us tonight. Someone to help you with your, I should say somebody to help us with your descent to madness. We have with us the host of Video Games the Movie and Is It Worth It, Blaine J. Welcome to the show, Blaine.
Hey guys, what's up?
Oh, well...
Oh, questions. That's up.
Yeah,
I have answers.
We got a few things to talk about with this movie, but first of all, for our listeners that are not familiar with your shows, how about you give us a little breakdown?
Oh, sure, yeah. Well, Is It Worth It? It's a podcast. Initially started, it's an offshoot of Derek and Don's RPG, long-standing retro RPG show. It's been around for about 10 years. They asked for anyone to come forward and do like a small offshoot show on their feed. I did so about, it's almost been 3 years now. With an idea that I would talk about some of the rare video games that I have. I've been a collector for, almost 30 years now. And have quite a few of these games that people covet, you know, your $3, $4, $5, $6, $700 games. And I would just, initially I thought, well, I'll discuss them and tell you whether or not I feel it's worth it. Later on, about a year later, one of the fans joined me as a co-host, James, and it's kind of morphed into we just talk about games in general and tell you whether we think it's worth its eBay price. And then Video Games the Movie is a podcast that we do where we talk about movies based on or related to video games. This can be as small as things like war games, where it's really not a lot about video games, but they're central to the plot. And we just watch the movie and kind of like you guys do here, and then we just kind of discuss whether or not we liked it, some of the funnier things about it, maybe some trivia regarding it, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I actually listened to your latest episode of Video Games and Movie today, and you guys watched one of my childhood favorites, The Wizard.
Oh, yeah, that's a great one.
And I've actually been afraid to go back and rewatch this movie because I loved it as a kid, and I'm afraid now it's going to be one of those movies that if I watch it as an adult, I'm going to hate it. So,
yeah, I mean, there will be some things that you'll be like, oh my God, but overall it really does hold up, I think. So,
Warning, nostalgia contents do not open.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I'm afraid of. I'm afraid it's going to kill the nostalgia of love that I have for it. But listening to you guys talk about it really wanted to make me go watch it again. So I might just have to bite the bullet on that one.
Yeah, do it. I think it's worth it. Not to make fun of myself, but yeah, it's worth another watch. I watch it every couple of years, but I'm a huge video game fan, so
Yeah, you don't want to be like that guy with the power glove, like the wizard. It's so bad.
If you listen to the show, you know what happened to that guy. I definitely don't want to be like him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was. I don't know how to feel about that because, like, he was a douche in the movie, but after hearing what he's been up to in real life.
Yeah, he's a douche in real life. More so.
Yeah.
Than, yeah.
What was he even acting?
Not that kind
Good
of
question.
douche, but yeah. Well,
Yeah.
just listen to the episode. You'll know.
Or just Google him. It's everywhere. You'll be like, oh shit. Anyway.
Well, guys, I cannot wait to get into today's movie. So, Mike, why don't you tell everyone what we've got in store?
Well, today's episode is called more like Critical Badness. Am I right? Because we watched Truth or Dare, a Critical Madness.
We sure did. Now, Blaine, this was your pick, so I have to ask, where did you find out about this one?
Well, like most people that found this movie, it was when I was a kid at a slumber party of sorts. I got invited to I can't even call him a friend, man. If you listen to the RPG show ever, there's an episode I guessed on called Dragon Warrior in Drywall, where I go over to this kid's house. I don't really know him, and his sister ends up throwing me through the wall, the drywall, because I wouldn't let her play Dragon Warrior because we were waiting to watch this particular movie, and we ended up, this is back in the days when you had one TV for a family of 8, and and we finally got to watch the film that we had rented from, whatever grocery store or whatever it was we had rented it from, and instantly, I knew we had found something pretty special because it's a horror movie, but it's done on a limited budget. And at the time, we thought it was really, really bad. But the more I watch it, I find that I really just love this film. I would discuss it with various people. Actually, when I was a kid, we did a kind of a riff tracks commentary on it that I still have on audio cassette somewhere, where like a 13-year-old Blaine J and all his friends are like commenting on things as they're going. So that's pretty neat. And then I got to be an adult, and I was talking about it with my wife, and I said, I can't find this film anywhere. It's pretty tough to track down, and she found me one of the, I believe, 500 pressed DVDs at the time, and got it for me. And since then, anytime anyone will let me, I make them sit through this film. We had all the guys from the various fans from the shows we do, and the guys from the RPG show, they all came in, and we went to Super BitCon last year, and the first thing we did was got drunk and watched Truth or Dare, Critical Madness collectively. So that was pretty cool. And it's a film that I watch really a couple times a year. I kind of both sad and proud to admit that. So
yeah, it's I usually pride myself on knowing some very obscure movies, but this one escaped me, so I was glad to take a look. And I mean, there's no doubt that it's, when it comes to production value, I guess the best way to put it, it is a bad movie, but I got to say I was entertained, like fully entertained throughout the whole thing. So the interesting thing about this film is, it was done on a relative shoestring budget. It was made to be direct to VHS video, which was a thing at the time. And the director was literally still in high school when he wrote and made this film. John Ritter, I think his name is, and Tim Ritter. Thank you. John Ritter was from Three's Company.
That whizzing sound was John Ritter spinning in his grave right now.
Well, yeah, but he made the film on $200,000 budget, a lot of which, if you want to get into now, was wasted because of him really just not knowing what to do because he was a kid, and causing a lot of that budget to go places it shouldn't have. He had, there's scenes in this movie where, I want to say it's a young A.J. McClane is about to get his head cut off. He may be in a different part of the film. I'm not sure. There's a couple of, he is in the movie, but And instead of showing his head get cut off, they just show this kid like falling on the ground and kind of just bleeding in a puddle of blood, and it kind of weaks off. Well, initially they were supposed to have this guy come in and do all these special effects where he was going to have these plaster cast heads that when, they cut them off, it would like shoot up in all this fountain of blood and be just completely awesome. So he hired this guy, and I believe it cost him 10 or 20 grand, which is a, considerable chunk of a $200,000 budget. And he's waiting around, and nothing's ever coming from this guy. He finally decides to go down the guy's hotel, and he gets the people to open the door, and he finds the guy drunk in bed, and all he has made is this giant high school equivalent volcano with plaster molds with like bubbling blood in it, and the guy's kind of like, yeah, I might have lied on my credentials a bit, and so they kind of cut back on a lot of those things. And then another big detriment to the film was about halfway through, he was filming out of Florida, and the people in Chicago who were financing the film kind of just decided out of nowhere that maybe this guy's just a little too young to be doing the film. And they fired him, and they had another guy direct and film the second half of the movie, or not second half, but it was actually interspersed throughout. And so there are scenes in the movie that just weren't filmed that were written. And so there are things in the film like the main character gets his tongue cut off and his finger is cut off, and there's a scene where they get put back on. And, in the next scene you see him talking, that's not explained. But even more hilarious, there's a scene where he breaks out of an insane asylum, and he's got just this arsenal of shit in the back of his car. He's got like a mace and a chainsaw and a gun and all this shit. And they never explain to you where he got it from. There's supposed to be a scene where he like robs a pawn shop in a hardware store, but never made it into the film. So he just magically has all these items. And that's actually one of my absolute favorite scenes in the movie, where he drives up, hits that lady's trash cans, and she just comes out bitching at him and stuff, and just completely disregards the fact that he's wearing a copper mask and is pulling out just this huge amount of arsenal from the back of his car. Great stuff.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's like it's like Ash from Evil Dead is watching this, going, "Now this kid knows how to be prepared." Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, great film all around. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, some details about Truth or Dare: Critical Badness. It was released in June 1st of 1986 by Peerless Home Video as a straight-to-video production. Like Blaine had just mentioned, it had a budget of $200,000, which, when you see it at first, is kind of surprising because it looks like it had the same budget that I do when I decorate my house for Halloween. It was written by Tim Ritter, who was only 17 when he wrote the short story the movie is based on, and he was only 18 when he directed it. And as for the plot, the movie follows the story of Mike Strauber, who catches his wife in bed with his best friend, goes mad, and embarks on a journey of murder, self-mutilation, and demented games of Truth or Dare. It has a 57% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes, and no critic score. The critics didn't even bother with this one.
They wouldn't admit to watching it.
So,
oh my gosh.
Without getting into much detail, Blaine. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, I thought you were done and we're waiting for someone to talk. I was going to say, I kind of agree with the 57% score. I mean, that beats out a lot of modern day movies, so I'm happy with that.
Definitely. I mean, there's lots of, big budget horror movies within the past 4 or 5 years on Rotten Tomatoes that are in single digit score territory. So
I have to wonder, how did he even get 200,000? Like, did he tell people that John Ritter was his uncle?
No, my understanding was that he made a lot of short films while he was in high school. He made this film, in fact, at a smaller budget. It was called Twisted Innocence or something. I forget the name of it. It's impossible to find. And it got some buzz surrounding it, and then a lot of companies at the time, this is early 80s, they were hungry for these direct-to-video VHSs, especially of the horror genre, because it was the whole Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th era, where people were hungry for more of these type of things for slumber parties and the like, and yet there weren't enough new titles on the shelves, so they were hiring out any directors they could find to make these low-budget direct-to-video films. And when they saw or heard of the stuff that he had done and saw, that it was pretty good, they gave him the go-ahead and gave him a couple of $100,000 to make the film. And as I said, he was still a kid. It's kind of unfair for them to expect a whole lot to come from someone, at that age, especially someone so inexperienced. And the fact that it's as good as it is kind of testament to how talented Tom or Tim Ritter, I guess, it is. So all things considered, I think it's a pretty good movie. But yeah,
this thing makes a lot more sense when you know the truth behind the scenes.
Right.
Well, congratulations, Blaine. You just killed half of my list.
Oh well, that's fine. There's plenty to still talk about. I mean,
there is lots more to talk about. So how about we dive right into this one? Usually what we do for our movies is that we divide everything up into a list of what we liked, what we didn't like, and more recently, just because a couple of episodes ago we covered a movie called Pieces. And we decided to add a new category called the What the Fuck list.
Well, that'd be the entire film.
So, a couple entries on that list for this one.
Yeah.
So let's start off with the good stuff, because there's plenty to talk about. Mike, how about you start us off with what the first thing you had on your likes list?
Like the first 10 seconds after the credits, we get to see boobs right off the bat. This is actually like one of these things that like vacillates between a like and a dislike. Like, I like me a good boob scene, and they came at it early, but is this a good boob scene? I mean, like, it's jarring. Like, you don't even get to see like a fade in or like some stuff going on. It's just like you just wonder, like, did somebody erase this movie and put a porno on it?
Well, I had my notes. The first 5 minutes of this movie is car driving, boobs. Car driving, boobs. So it made it to my likes category. So,
I mean, I like it. She's an attractive lady. Boobs are great. We always joked around as a kid that they couldn't possibly be having sex, because if you look closely, she's still wearing her underwear. But it's whatever.
Well, they could be getting some dry hump on.
I mean, you could be pulling them to the side too, but this wasn't a thing we knew as children.
Well, what would pulling it to the side? What would that move be called when you don't get the undies off, but you just like throw them to the side because you just don't have time to take it off?
I think you just named it. It's the "I just don't have time" clause.
Oh, it's got to be something like the Cincinnati side saddle or something.
Sure, why not?
You gotta have a city you don't like, and then some like the Cincinnati sidecar.
All right.
Boom, there you go. Oh. Okay, so Sheldon,
Portland pullover.
There we go.
There you go. I like that one. Okay, so first on my list, I had to add this. I liked the effects. They were cheap, gushing, gory, quick and dirty. I loved it.
Oh yeah.
One of those things you could tell, like, some of the best special effects I've seen are the ones on a shoestring budget. Now, of course, Blaine, like as you were saying, they were intended in some scenes to be much better, much more graphic, but considering what they had to deal with, I think they did a pretty good job.
Right. Well, my understanding actually is that Tim wanted it to be much more of the rubber, like fake variety, because it was popular at the time and still is in retrospect. A lot of people like the scene where the guy puts the grenade in his mouth and it very obviously cuts to a rubber head or a paper mache head before it blows up. Stuff like that he was going for, and the other director that took over the movie in the second half was wanting it to be more realistic, and of course with the budget he had, it ended up being kind of comical anyway. But right. Great stuff. To me that's so much better, when you actually see like the piece of like jagged bologna on the guy's face with what appears to be, just like thick ketchup and stuff. It's like, obviously he's not actually all cut up or whatever, and it's just laughable, but it's got a charm because of that, So.
Right.
Yeah, like the way Sheldon's describing it, it's like the special effects in a good independent movie should be like your deflowering, like gross, messy, obviously amateur, but definitely got lots of heart and spirit.
Maybe yours was.
No comment.
Okay, so second. Oh my god. My second like was the quintuple take at the beginning when he catches his friend banging the wife. It's the first time I've ever seen a quintuple take. He opens the door, goes back out, goes back in, addresses what he's seeing, closes the door, then comes back in, says something, turns around, and then turns right back around, does this face like Jim Carrey getting a blowjob, and then he turns around again, and he's like, oh my god. It's like he was trying to leave, but someone left a lazy Susan in the doorway. It was so fucking hilarious. He's like, my wife, and my friend.
Yeah, it's like
It was so fucking
it was like a
bad.
Saturday Night Live skit that the audience had a stronger reaction than the actor thought, so it just keeps doing that same scene over and over again.
Oh my god, it's like if Jim Carrey was impersonating Brad Pitt at the end of Seven.
Oh yeah. It's overacting at its finest. He's great throughout the film. He does that. The scene where he cuts out or rips out, I should say, his own tongue, and just everything he does is just like so far over the top. And that's part of what. Again, it's just part of what makes this movie amazing.
Sure. So, Blaine, how about you? Something like very specific that you liked about this movie?
Let's go with the inept cop that has like a hunchback that no one says anything about. He's just wearing a Hawaiian shirt.
Oh yeah.
He's very clearly a hunchback. No one mentions it at all. He's completely inept. He in one scene he sets fire to a small shed. Because he thinks that Mike, the main character, is within the shed, so he's a murderous, inept cop. Ends up killing a homeless man instead. Just everything about the guy is just hilarious, to the point where I wanted to know more about him, and I looked him up. This is the only movie he's ever done. Unfortunately, he passed away in the early 2000s, so I was really hoping he'd have just like a whole back catalog that I could watch him in. I don't know where they got the guy, but he's great. Along with his chief, the chief is also just another secondary character that is amazing. He was actually a little background on him. He was a former cop, but he says the phrase "you shithead" so many times in this film that you begin to wonder if he knows how to say anything else. He's just constantly saying it. And his acting is atrocious as well. And those two guys together are really something to see.
I love the chain of events. It's like, you just, what kind of a cop are you? You just killed an innocent man. Yeah, give me back that gun. Oh, you shithead. Okay, I'll see you back at the station.
Yeah, I know. There's so many scenes like that too, where you just the acting just goes from bam to like the scene with a forest ranger where he walks up on the guy. Oh my God, you're hurt. Well, I'm gonna go get a doctor, and he just walks off, and you're like, what? You don't know how to administer any kind of anything. You're a forest ranger anyway. Lots of scenes like that. The scene with the people on the park bench that get shot and they all fall over, and then it like halfway through one of them has to like move their leg. They're supposed to be dead, but she's like, oh, this is uncomfortable, and just little things,
Yeah.
When you watch it, that's I'd say the most favorite thing for me is all the little things.
Definitely. Well, next thing I got on my list, and you already we already talked about a little, but Mike's infinite weapon car.
Yeah.
That scene, I watched that scene so many times. After he knocks over the lady's garbage can, he stops, she's yelling at him, and he's just taking out this freaking arsenal out of his car. Just keeps going. He pulls out a chainsaw, a set of nunchucks, a machete, knives, all kinds of guns. And then, when I was already laughing at this, that everything's keep coming, he pulls out a freaking mace.
Yeah. Yep. No telling where he got that from. Even the explanation I gave of he robbed a pawn shop. What pawn shop do you know has medieval weaponry? Yeah, and then just busts her in the head with it. It's just incredible. Just great stuff, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That lady looked like the perfect impersonator of that. Who the hell is that? I think it was like Fry's neighbor in Futurama. That weird homeless old
always
woman.
wearing them. Yep, you got it. It's wearing the muumuu and everything. Yeah, I know exactly who you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And like the lines in this movie where after he pulls his quintuple take and leaves, and she's like, Mike, I tried to tell you. It's like, well, you tried to tell him, but you had dick in your mouth? Like it's really easy to say, like, Mike, the spark's gone, I'm done with you. And then she follows up with, look, just find yourself some good friends. And I'm just thinking, so I can bang them too.
Yeah, that being the line that his mother gave him whenever he played Truth or Dare as a kid and slit his own wrist.
That's a follow-up like even mom's in on the whole, you need to get yourself some friends, you friggin' loser.
Yeah, some good friends that don't dare you to, kill yourself.
And it ends. Oh my God! As he gets into his car and takes off, the guy that just cucked him is saying, "Well, you don't have to tell him now."
He's not wrong.
While standing in his doorway, watching him drive away.
Oh.
A lot of driving in this film.
Oh yeah.
Just him behind the wheel, but it's fun because they play that jaunty tune throughout.
Oh,
I
you
guess
mean?
that'd be my next like?
Are you? Do you mean? Dun 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 dun.
It's like
the
first 10 seconds of "We Got the Beat" on a loop.
A little bit.
See the people walking down the street.
Yeah, well, you got it. But yeah, it's a song that once it's in your head, it will forever be there. So you're both welcome for that.
It's like he had a 10-second tape in his car with an auto reverse in the tape deck. He has no idea how the rest of the song goes or even starts, but that's just all he's got of it.
Well, I mean, he wasn't in high school, so he probably hired some high school equivalent band to
I need a royalty-free version of "We Got the Beat." Can you work on that?
So,
yeah.
My note for that was, wow, somebody really is really enjoying their Casio synthesizer.
Yeah. It's the era for it. Yeah.
Definitely.
Okay, so Blaine, what's your next like on this?
Oh, well, I mean, to be honest, I like everything, but all the Truth or Dare scenes, probably my favorite one is the one where, as a kid, we called them Mr. Miyagi and Larry Fine, even though they don't really look too terribly like those two, but the scene where he's locked up and he's spinning around in his wheelchair, and then out of nowhere, these two guys appear. And as a kid, it didn't occur to me that it was all in his mind. I'm just like, how'd those guys get in there, And, yeah, and then he dares the one guy to cut off his arm, and then dares the other guy to put a grenade in his mouth, turns back to Mr. Miyagi and says, I dared you to cut your leg off. The way he delivers that line, and then Miyagi, starts cutting in at his leg, like, oh yeah, and then he stops halfway through. It dawns on him, like, wait a minute, I already cut my arm off, and says, no, you ain't done nothing yet. You ain't done nothing. Cut off your face. Cut off your face. Yeah, well, you would be.
Yeah.
I love that scene. Furthermore, another thing that just occurred to me that I really love is the mask itself. It's supposed to be this copper mask that he made in metal shop, and it's very obviously a thin plastic mask. There's several scenes where you can see him breathing behind the mask and it going in and out as he's drawing breath, and it's just great. Like I said, there's really nothing I hate about the film. That'd be a much shorter, easier list for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So one of the things I have on my list is that this movie has balls. Kind of, it really had like a trauma type of feel to it, where they really didn't care what they did. Like, case in point, they kill a baby in this movie.
Yeah.
Brutally.
It might be the only scene that elicits like any kind of emotional response in the way they had intended from me. Having a kid now, anytime I see or hear of a child dying, it instantly, I superimpose my daughter onto that, imagery, and it kind of gives me a momentary like, and up to and including the scene. As a kid, it didn't bother me. I was just like, oh, whatever, he ran over a baby, But nowadays, it was a pretty ballsy scene, as you say. That's
how many other movies cross that line? Like,
very
where they're just
few.
like, we will kill a fucking baby.
Yeah. Especially made-to-video VHS movies.
Exactly.
They pulled no punches with it, that's for sure. So,
yeah.
I don't know that I can say that's alike. That
No,
might be one of
it's
the few
it's hard.
dislikes.
I mean, that's gonna make that sounds pretty fucked up when you say, "Oh, what do you like about this movie?" Well, I like that fact that they killed a baby.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I just
Someone
like that,
finally took finally somebody took the stand.
Yeah.
Right. You took your stance. That's your platform for when you go political.
I think
Will
there should be
kill
more baby
babies.
killing in movies.
I mean, with the population rate the way it is,
Do you want these babies taking your jobs? Fuck no.
But yeah, it's there was, like you said, no punches pulled in this. They decided, hey, you know what would make this scene great? If the guy runs over a baby carriage with his car. So let's do that.
And we don't have to show
And
anything
it's-
emotional like the grieving mother, because we're just going to kill her 2 seconds later.
Well, there you go. And it's a cheap scene to shoot,
Mhm. Absolutely.
Yeah. Definitely comes into it.
Okay, Mike.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Oh, I'm running low on likes. My second last like is... all I got is the line, I'll kill her after she's finished making her famous tortillas. And I'll just take on the guy that's my strength first. Because he sneaks up on them, and he has the perfect opportunity to kill her first. But when he sees that she's cooking dinner, he stops. He just fucking stops like, well, hold on. Is she making ravioli? Oh, frick, that's the good ravioli. Okay, I can do this later. And then he decides to take on the guy first. And somehow, like, she just doesn't hear all this shit going on. Like, he's taking on somebody his strength. And then when he goes to kill her, he, like, I don't know what the hell he's planning, because he raises this knife above his head. It's like, there are so many ways to kill this girl who, like, has no peripheral vision whatsoever. Like, when someone's in the room with you, you just know. Not her. And he just raises the knife. She turns around, accidentally stabs him.
Oh, that scene was so good. When she slashes him across the chest.
And he screams and freaks out, and she runs instead of just, like, continually, like, that could have ended if she's just like, oh shit, and then, like, repeatedly stabbed him, like, I just saw a fucking knife in your hand, you asshole, and you're here without an invitation, die. But no, she, like, takes off, runs. Oh man.
Mm-hmm. Great stuff. So the only thing I got left that I want to bring up was the runtime of this movie. How many times have I said it, Mike, since we've been doing this thing, that I always say the perfect runtime for a horror movie is 90 minutes. It's like you should be able to tell a good horror story in 90 minutes, and this one was 90 minutes on the dot. You can honestly say with this movie that you don't get time. There's no part where you get bored. It moves quickly. They did everything they wanted in that runtime, and it's just perfect.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
There's no
Blaine?
padding.
Blaine, you
The
got
only time I think you would ever get bored would be in between when he either hurts himself or gets hurt, there's all these scenes where it's like a doctor and some chick talking and they've got like the little flash against the bottom of the screen, like a old 80s style, and those are the only scenes where I'm like, okay, we can just fast forward through this.
Yeah.
Everything else is just all killer.
He's the Poochie. Every time that he's not in the camera, people are asking, where's Poochie?
Exactly. Yeah. You should be asking yourself, where's Mike?
All right. So
that's all I got.
So I'm interested in the next list then, because Blaine, seeing as you said,
I didn't get to finish my final like.
Oh, damn, but all right, whatever.
It's a quick one. It's like an hour and 12 minutes in. Like, you might as well call Mark Morrison, because it's the Return of the Rack. Like, just if you thought, like, weren't there boobs in this movie? Aren't we going to see any more? Then, bam! Completely, like, I wouldn't say inappropriate, but out of, like, no context necessary shower scene. While he's driving on his way to slice her open, we're just like, well, if we're going to kill her, we might as well get to see the bits first.
That was a big seller back then for movies of this genre. You have to remember, this is pre-internet days. A lot of 14-year-old kids were renting these movies, boys, obviously, for that very reason. They were fast-forwarding to the good parts. Myself included, there are plenty of films in which I rented, but only saw maybe, 10 minutes of the film in its entirety. So it was something you kind of had to include in movies of this genre at the time, or else you would quickly be known as the movie without boobs, and no one would rent you.
Okay, right. I mean, come on. How many movies have you rented from a video store in the 80s where you get to a part where there's any nudity, and all of a sudden, like, the quality of the video starts to get a little fuzzy, and that's because that part's been rewinded and paused so many times?
You're not wrong. That's a phenomenon I think we're all familiar with. Anyone in their 30s has seen that for sure. Yeah.
Definitely.
Okay, so
yeah.
Sheldon, take us.
Just on a side note, the chick that is naked throughout this film all the time, I looked her up as well, and she still looks exactly as she did in the film. She hasn't aged a day.
Damn.
So I don't know what her secret is, but she still looks incredible. So
is she naked in other movies?
She's naked in a lot of movies, evidently. She was a kind of a horror queen throughout the 80s and 90s, apparently. So
was she hitting her stride, or was this her breakout role?
No, she had done a couple of things before this, is my understanding. She was one of the actors that actually was an actor, or actress, I guess. A lot of the actors, though, I don't know where they found these guys. I assume they were just around, like, hey, you want to be in a movie? Well, yeah, okay.
So she was the ringer.
But yeah, she was amongst the ringers. Her and then the main actor, I guess, had a couple of things under his belt. Ironically, the guy that blew his head up apparently had done some things in the past. So... yeah. Cool. Yeah.
Hey, you're going to have to tell us some of the movies that she was in so I can get a bit more of that.
Oh, well, I mean, just IMDb it or whatever. I couldn't even tell you her name off the top of my head. I'm not,
But you could tell me her measurements.
Roughly, yeah. But,
So,
all right.
So Blaine, since, you've got a lot of love for this movie, I'm going to make this difficult for you. Other than a couple of boring parts involving the doctors talking about Mike, tell me something else you didn't like about this movie.
Oh, man. I really can't think of anything. I like, even the stuff that I didn't like as a kid, I like now. The scene where he goes to kiss the chick and turns into his mom, who's foaming at the mouth for some reason. As a kid, that used to... like make me almost vomit, because the idea of kissing someone with like vomit in their mouth is still pretty disgusting. But watching it now, even though I still don't know why his mother would have like rabid rabies or something, it's hilarious to me. And then when he pulls away and he does the take where he like touches his mouth and he looks at his hand and it's all foamy and he's it's like, I love all that stuff. Like everything that I hated as a kid, the paper mache head, the really bad special effects, all that stuff was the stuff that I hated but still made fun of as a kid. Now I just absolutely love. I'm trying to think of anything that I absolutely hate about this film, and nothing. Like, again, it's just like the stuff I hate I actually love, so it's kind of one of those things.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised because, I had a problem making a dislikes list because, like you said, like, even when it comes, like, first of all, I put on the list was the acting. The acting was terrible, but the thing is, if they had good actors in this movie, I don't think I would have liked it as much.
Oh, definitely not.
It's part of its charm. So, that was a tough one. Like, that's pretty much what I have. Like, the acting was bad. I have a feeling a lot of the actors work for free.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
I saw in the credits that a lot of the actors had the same last name, Duff. So, there was a lot of, someone called up their cousins and asked if they wanted to be in a movie, I'm pretty sure.
Baby Duff.
Yeah,
That
even the baby.
was so fucking great. I can just imagine, like, for the party toddlers, we got Duff Baby, alcohol-free beer. Ooh yeah.
I wonder if so that baby's all grown up now. I wonder if he does like horror conventions or anything like that. This autographed pictures of Baby Duff.
Maybe. No, the only one I know of that grew up to be anything is A.J. McClain, and he gets top billing when you look this movie up now. It's like
A.J. McClain stars in.
Exactly. Yeah, and you're like, okay. And I think he's in the film he either plays the little boy that slits his wrists or the baseball kid. I can't remember which one it is that's walking that gets his head cut
it was.
off.
He played Mike in the flashback. So
okay.
Young Mike.
Okay, so he plays the slit his wrist kid. Yeah, that makes sense because he's about goofy looking and he still fucking is. So yeah.
So.
Any movie he's in, on the back of the DVD it says, with critical madnesses, A.J. McClain.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, so they gave him top billing the same way that they give Jack Nicholson billing on The Little Shop of Horrors now, because since it went public domain, because he's in that movie for maybe like a 2-minute scene, but
always like you always for pussies.
Exactly, but you'll always see his name at the top of the DVD. So. When I was looking up this movie, I looked up the actors. I went on IMDb, and I was like, there's only one actor in this thing that has a picture on their IMDb file. So I look it up, and it's like A.J. McClain, and I was like, what the shit? He's one of the Backstreet Boys.
Yeah. That A.J.?
Yeah, that's him.
Seriously?
Mm-hmm.
Shit.
I know you're a big Backstreet Boys fan, Mike, but I'm surprised you didn't know that.
Well, I was more in sync, but... No, actually, I was following the Spice Girls because I was hitting puberty and... Well, come on.
Yeah. Even if you weren't, when you first saw the Spice Girls, you probably hit puberty. So.
Puberty hit me.
So, Mike, let's go with you. Is there something about this that you didn't like?
Well, as is the theme, apparently... that with me in the last couple of episodes, these had even worse credits than The Shining. Like, as soon as this thing starts, it looks like a discount documentary that even PBS would pass on. Like, it's like home video do-it-yourself instructional tapes had better production value than these credits.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had one of my first notes that I had was Mike. I had just had dash Mike credits. I knew you were going to bring up the credits.
It's like I'm looking over my dislikes now, and I don't even know like what would be here or what goes in the what the fucks, because it's like what we seem to be establishing. This movie is almost immune, or at least highly super resistant to criticism.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a new superbug.
Yeah, this one is, it's because of movies like this that people created the phrase, so bad it's good. Like,
yeah.
I don't know what else to say about this movie, really. Like, we can go straight into the what the fuck category, because I've only really got one. Because, like we said, I mean, anyone listening to us knows we've pretty much been all, like, what the fucks with this movie, but unless someone else has something to bring up, Blaine, I think you've pretty much established that you've got nothing else bad to say about this one.
No, nothing really. As far as what the fucks, are we going into?
Yeah,
them,
let's
or?
just go for it.
Well, I do have one dislike that
Okay.
can't be categorized as a what the fuck. Everything else is, so we'll just sublimate that.
Yeah, go
But
for it.
the last dislike I've got is when the guy is in the mental hospital and he's talking with the black orderly, and the guy asks him a question, he goes, "Just shut up and listen to your jive-ass music."
I was going to mention that.
I was just like, that's a dislike, is it's just like, really? You're just like, instead of just saying music, because he's black, you gotta emphasize that it's jive-ass music. And the best part is, he does. He puts on his headphones and he is just fucking grooving.
Yeah.
Okay, now let's enter what the fucktopia.
Okay.
Well, to play off that scene that you were just talking about, I mean, the fact that professional orderlies of any kind would think that it would be hilarious to give such a trigger to someone that's already attempted murder, or I can't remember if he'd committed. I think he may have at that point.
He killed the guy.
Yeah, but giving him a damn photo of his ex-wife, you know, the huge trigger. Not to mention there's glass in it. There's, you know, it could be a weapon. This is like, who would do this? That was a definitely
break the frame and you got a shiv.
Moment. Yeah, for sure. You have multiples. I mean, the frame itself could be a shiv. The glass can, easily cut someone. So yeah, it was kind of a what the fuck moment. But the one for me that, especially when I was a kid, when I watched this, were all the scenes in which he was playing Truth or Dare. There was always something that would happen that is supposed to, I guess, designed to make you think, oh, well, this is all in his head. But it didn't occur to me as a kid. Like the first time I watched this, and he's in the woods with that hitchhiker that he picked up, and she dares him to pluck his eye out, and then he goes, "No, I dare you to pluck your eye out with this." And then for some reason, he out of nowhere has a damn corkscrew.
Yeah.
Hands it to her, and she plucks her eye out, and you're like, well, okay, well, what the fuck? You know, it's like, I guess that's what I'm getting involved in. And then it flips back to her, and she's got both her goddamn eyes. Even though she just handed it to him, and I was like, okay, well, what the fuck? How is it, you know, and he threw it in the fire. You heard it sizzling, so stuff like that. And then even the dare where she's like, I dare you to throw your wallet in the fire, and he doesn't think, well, you know, you just dared the wallet. I guess I'll pull out all my, you know, important documents, money and stuff. No, he just throws it in the fire. Yeah, and just stuff like that, I guess, is just a result of, like, bad writing or whatever. But again, it just ultimately just adds to the film.
Yeah.
So.
That's what I had as my biggest what the fuck, was just who the hell was the girl at the campsite with Mike, because it just comes out of nowhere, and then, you know, she gets him to cut off his finger and pull out his tongue, and then she's just gone, never seen again, never addressed, like if it was a total hallucination, which, I mean, yes, you're pretty sure it is because of the whole eyeball scene. But
yeah, and turns into his mom and stuff briefly as well.
Yeah.
So.
But it's just never, like, explained, like, what this stemmed from or anything, so.
Yeah, and I'm actually watching the scene right now and just laughing because, she dares him to cut his finger off, and he does the whole thing with his hands together, and he's nodding his head back and forth, and he goes, all right, I'll do it. You know, convincing himself to do it, and it's just so good. Mm-hmm. God, it's so good.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So, Mike, what the fuck moment? Anything else?
Oh my gosh. Well, I half these notes were written live, so only 10 seconds later they get negated. It's like, oh, this hitchhiker decides to take a ride with an emotionally unstable guy with a gun. And then, oh, well, truth or dare, do you still love your wife? Like, you're just trying to trigger this guy who was dumped an hour ago. Oh, wait a second, she's fake. And
Yeah.
and then then the guy finds him in the woods, and he's just like frothing at the mouth, convulsing near a fire, and what? But yeah, I guess like what I would categorize as like a massive what the fuck is, did they use like a local storm warning as a time leap cue?
Yep, you are right.
It's like we just see the mental hospital, instead of just like a nice fade in of some letters saying like 13 months later, it's like dee 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 Sunnyvale Mental Hospital dee 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 13 months later dee 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 dee.
Man, that's pretty atrocious.
Oh, the sound in this is just friggin' terrible, from like that jarring beep to the terrible musical stings. Like, even when the guy's talking with girls, like some weird shocking music will happen and then keep playing over their talking. We saw this in pieces, and it's here again.
Yeah, there was some pretty rough ADR in some places. So, one thing I got to mention, this goes back, this is definitely a what the fuck moment, but in a very disappointing way, because it goes back to the mystery lady at the mystery hitchhiker. Because, at the beginning of the movie, we get a beautiful 80s boob shot, and then when we see this, this quintessential 80s chick at the campsite with him, and he says, he dares her to lift up her blouse. And so we think we're going to get to see another gratuitous nudity shot, but nope, total cop-out.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember remarking on that as a kid. So, yeah, it was kind of like, oh, come on, because she has a much nicer rack than the rack you get to see. So, yeah, it's disappointing for sure, but they probably ran out of budget to give her the additional, $100 or whatever it was.
That's like the second thing this thing has in common with Pieces. First the shitty audio, and then second, getting teased and then denied the ultimate rack in this movie.
My notes on this scene are they go like this. This is my two notes. Oh, this is going to be glorious. Second note, fuck you.
No.
Okay. Well, guys, I'm all out of stuff to talk about for this movie. Like, we pretty much covered everything. This one, I don't know if anyone else has anything to add about the movie itself.
Oh, I can just like blast through mine quickly. And he's in the mental hospital, and he's talking with the two guys that just like appeared like to stab themselves and eat a grenade for his pleasure. And when I see him talk about this knife, I'm just figuring like, oh, it's another, it's a manifestation of his sick mind. But when the orderlies find him, he's slicing his own face open with it, and I'm just like, wait a sec, did Pennywise sneak this knife in? Because that's what he does. He manifests knives in mental hospitals.
Yeah,
so this is like a prequel. I guess Stephen King ripped off this movie. Mm-hmm. And then everything, oh my god, another one is everything triggers this guy. He's driving down the street, and all of a sudden, like, people waiting at the friggin' bus stop are now, like, what, the orderlies or the school kids? Like, who the hell is he seeing them morph into?
Yeah.
And then a copper mask. Like, I'm not like a doctor, but isn't like copper bad for like open wounds? Like if you're like sliced your face open, are you sure you want to be putting copper near like something that's like just healing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't
know.
I'd
be more concerned that they actually give someone that's a violent, criminally insane person access to a metal shop.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my god! Yeah. To think that there is a metal shop in the asylum, it's like, yeah, let's just take all these unstable people and then put them near sharp objects and machinery.
Yeah.
And then again, the machine gun and what can only be described as a race fight. Because the guy he meets this guy, flips him off, like, he gets into, like, some weird argument with him in traffic, pisses the guy off just by, like, not saying anything. And then they have, like, this weird cat and mouse game in the car until somehow the car just fucking spontaneously explodes and the guy takes his sweet time getting out of the car. I mean, like, he's in there for about a good 10 seconds before he opens up the door. And he's like,
The actor, the stuntman was thinking like, well, I can't leave the car yet. I'm not on fire. So he had to wait till the fire reached him. He caught, and he's like, okay, I'm good.
And then, like, you just think, oh, he's gonna burn to death. No, he's got a fucking machine gun. How did he get a machine gun? It's like, you think, like you can't even tell, like, what's he imagining and what's he actually doing. And then you get to see the police chief, and he's just like, this guy's killing people all over the place. And I'm like, those kills are real?
Maybe the police chief wasn't real.
Dun dun dun.
Yeah, I'm just about done. Except with the weird voiceover in the credits. Like, as the credits are going up, you're hearing this talking, and laid over this kind of beautiful Whitney Houston-like ballad, which you think it's like some random song they plied onto it, but the way when you finally get to hear the lyrics, you're like, no, this woman is like singing a song about him. This is an homage to Michael. Just hammering the name of the movie in about 20 to 30 times.
Yeah, that's the song with has a children's choir as well?
Yeah, it is a fucking gospel anthem dedicated to this bullet-resistant lunatic. Oh my fuck. Did we even talk about the end scene? He goes to sneak up on the girl in the shower, because, again, we've seen her showering. And then when he pulls back the curtain, the guy from the fucking mental hospital is waiting for him, like Dr. Loomis from Halloween. It's like, this guy comes out of nowhere, shoots him.
That's
dead,
literally
like, wow.
That's literally my note of that scene. It's like, good job, Dr. Loomis.
And then he, after shooting him like 6 times around the torso, and I think like once in the head, he goes to like open up. Did he like tell the girl to hide in the closet? Cause somehow she's fucking dead.
Yeah. Well.
And then Michael shows up and shoots him in the head. Like, he's like, and I'm just like, did he miss or something? And it's like, no, he's walking around, bullet holes, like blood is pouring out of his back in the shirt. And I'm like, no, he has been shot. He's just not fucking dead. And did this guy find, like, how did the police chief, like, know about the truth or dare? Because he's like, I dare you to put the gun down. And the guy's like, fuck, I gotta do it. It's like, nobody realizes, like, you can just, like, not do it. It's just a dare.
No, you gotta respect the game, Mike. Come on.
Oh my gosh.
So, yeah, guys, like, this movie, there's nothing we can describe to you that's gonna do it justice. You've got to see it. If you like the type of movies that fit in the so bad it's good category, then this is an absolute must-see. So, Blaine, thank you very much for bringing this to our attention.
Oh, sure. No problem.
So, you guys, we got to do something here. I think, as tribute to this movie, how about we play a small game of Truth or Dare?
I'm down.
No.
Okay, so Mike, I'm going to ask you first. Truth or Dare?
Truth.
Truth? Okay. Let me think of something good that's kind of ties in with this movie. If you were going to go on a killing spree, what would be your weapon of choice, and what 80s song would be your theme song?
I guess a stiletto, because like it's quick, it's silent. Like a machete would be very wieldy.
You mean the knife,
Although-
not the shoe, right?
Well, you said 80s, not 90s. If it was 90s, then I could be like Buffalo Bill. Look at me, I'm so pretty. But I guess like a jackknife, and then because like it would be easy to conceal, and like if you're encountering like a Hawaiian shirt cop, then you can be like, yeah, he went that way. It's like, why are you covered in blood? It's ketchup, man. It was like I was at a picnic, and he'd buy it. And my 80s, I don't know. For some reason, the first one that came to my head would be Back in Black.
Good one. All right.
Do you got one for Blaine, or did he opt out?
He wasn't too enthused about this. About this
I
idea.
didn't know what you were gonna ask. I want to adhere to the game, but at the same time, I don't want to incriminate myself. So. Or cut off any limbs.
Yeah. After I said this, I was like, Dare is going to be a hard one to pull off on the audio format of the show. So.
For sure. Yeah. And I wouldn't know what to ask for truth. So, yeah. You are 18, aren't you? Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
God, I hope so, because we've talked about some very inappropriate things if anyone here is underage.
right. Yeah. Not much truth in the movie, come to think of it. I think there's the initial 2, and then, you are 18, and do you still have your wife? And then after that, it's all...
It's all Dare,
all Dare. Yeah. Dare or Dare. And how over the top can you go with it? Yeah. Like I said, I've never liked Truth or Dare. As a kid, even, I was like, I don't think I want to play this game, because there's always resorts to like, hey, why don't you pull out your junk and throw it in this drawer?
Yes.
Or something, and you're like, come on, man. Hey, set fire to your pubes. No, I'm good.
Yep. Yeah, this is always made me. As soon as someone brought up Truth or Dare, it always made me feel a little uncomfortable.
Yeah. I mean, you always hear about in fiction, the stories about playing Truth or Dare with a chick, and you dare to do this, and then you end up, hooking up or whatever. But in my experience, that never happens. It's always a group of like really bored dudes, and you're daring each other to run to the stop sign and back without your pants on, or some stupid ass shit. No thanks.
Yeah.
You never got like the wingman, like, Stacy, I dare you to like rub up on Jerry. And like, that Jerry's been like, and like it's obvious like Jerry put you up to it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
if we were hanging around with a chick that was that skanky that she would do that shit on a dare, then someone was already hooking up with her anyway. So, yeah, it didn't really require a dare. You were just like, hey, Stacy, you want to go to the bathroom and rub up on Jerry or whatever? It's like, yeah, I'll do it. I don't care.
I'm indiscriminate.
Yeah, so you don't need a game for that. Same all those childhood games. I never really got into any of them. And every now and then they would be at a slumber party or something where they'd want to play Spin the Bottle or Truth or Dare or something, and it was always just lame as shit. So.
Yep.
Yeah, I guess like
It's almost like TV and movies gave us an unrealistic expectation of how these things are going to go.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
All right, so I guess like Blaine opted out.
I mean, I'll play, but as you said, it's hard to dare, because exactly what am I going to do in an audio format? You can tell me to do something, and I could pretend to do it. But,
Exactly. Yeah, this wasn't well thought out of mine. This is kind of like a last minute thing. It's one of those things. As soon as you say it, it's like, yeah, that's probably not good. It sounded better in my head.
I'm coming up with a couple of dares.
yeah, and then cut off my face. Why not?
Ow, I cut off my face.
I'll cut my face off. He says it so stoically. All right, I'll cut off my face.
Rip out your tongue.
Yeah.
Okay, now my tongue's ripped out.
And I don't know that I could do that if I had a gun to my head, like actually pull out my tongue. First of all, it's hard to grab. And secondly, it doesn't want to be pulled out of your head. It's, yeah.
Yeah. No, like no, seriously, if it came to down to something like that, someone puts a gun to me and says, pull out your tongue or I'm going to shoot you. And I'm just, just shoot me.
Yeah, man. So I guess I'll do a truth real quick and we can wrap this up.
All right.
If you get another.
Mike, help me out with this one. Think of something good we can ask. Probably one of the least thought out ideas I brought up on the show.
I can try and answer the same question Mike did. If you
go for it.
I think for me, as far as Mike's question is concerned, I would probably use a machete because it's classic, and I'm going to throw a twist on it and say that my theme song as I'm doing thing would be Patrick Swayze's "She's Like the Wind," which would that would be hilarious. Just chopping people up, listening to Swayze do his slow ballad from the hit film Dirty Dancing. That would just do it for me. I could do that all day long.
Maybe I want to change my answer to Maniac for my kill music.
Good one.
Very Batesman of you. What's his name? Patrick Batesman or whatever from American Psycho. That I could see him doing something like that.
Mm-hmm. The funny thing is that she was actually doing her own stunts. Now, many people think that, and then while he's like lubing up the chainsaw, many people say that Footloose was Jennifer Bill's breakout movie, but actually she achieved fame.
Yep, you got it. Perfect.
Okay, so I guess it's my turn. So, Sheldon, truth or dare?
I'm going to go with truth just because this movie was, like 99% dare. So let's get some truth going.
Okay, truth. After watching this movie, has it inspired you to think that you could do a better movie? And if so, what would that movie be?
Oh, you know what? With this, if somebody said like, "Hey, like here's $200,000, go make a movie about whatever you want, whatever you can do with this." At first, I'd probably think that, "Oh yeah, I can do this. I can." This movie wasn't that well done. I can do a better job than this. But I would quickly learn that, by the time I got to actually trying to write a script, that, oh, no, I guess I can't do this. This movie was actually much better than I thought, and no, I should quit now and just leave with the $200,000 and go on vacation.
You're going to pull a Fright Night and just, leave the budget and have an asterisk in the Wikipedia mark.
The budget was somewhere between $200,000 to $500,000.
I lost track of it after my impromptu Hawaiian vacation.
Yeah. Well, this was a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, it sounded much better in my head. So.
I was just waiting for a dare because I wanted to, dare you to do your best, Michael getting cuckolded impression.
Oh, man.
No. I need to act surprised and leave, then come back and.
Come on,
Sharon.
Don't put it in there.
Go. Jerry.
So much bigger. I don't know. Yeah, he's pretty pathetic.
The way he was so fucking grossed out. I really thought the next thing he was gonna say is, "Oh my God, you're touching his pee-pee."
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Oh man, you told me not to go in there. Yeah, whatever.
You told me that that's only for only outdoor traffic.
Exit only. Yeah. Yeah. He's definitely grossed out by something. It is weird. It is a weird scene, but the whole movie's weird, and the fact
maybe he's never seen like an uncircumcised penis before.
it could be. Maybe he has two.
And he's more grossed out at Jerry than her.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah. This whole movie is weird and low quality, but in the most fantastic type of way that makes it pretty incredible.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, 100% agree.
Well, I think...
I'm not. Oh, just one more thing. when Officer Casual Friday, like the shitty version of Dragnet, instead of Joe Friday, we got Joe Casual Friday. He burns down the shed, and it's just like you could have like run into this. You could have run into this shed and toppled it. And when they bring in the fire department, and it's just like, no, you don't. Like, you're gonna blow the shed away with that hose. And they do exactly that.
Yeah. Well, more backstory for you. That shed was actually built by Tim Ritter's father for that scene. You know, he built it on their land, I think, in order to set fire to it. But yeah, that whole scene, the cop in general, I mean, Quasimodo there or whatever, he is something to behold. Like,
oh yeah.
And the old cop, he sees like this young cop on the ground, and he's like, "Someone like get that young cop out of here." And I'm like, I first thought like this guy like doesn't know anything about cops, because they'd be using like some local term like rookie, or like the greenhorn,
rabbit.
They wouldn't be like, a cop wouldn't call another cop a cop. He'd call him like a brother, a rookie. Like, he'd give like some indication of rank rather than profession.
They also wouldn't let him run around in his Magnum PI shirt with, ball cap. And very unprofessional. And then just the fact that he would think that it's a good idea to just set fire to this shed rather. I mean, if you're looking to kill the guy, there's any number of things they could have done. Just pumped it full of lead or something. But no, we're going to add destruction of property to the murder, potentially a forest fire. I mean, just how's this guy on the force? But it's whatever. Yeah.
Oh my God! This is just the latest entry in the horde, in the lineup of stupid cops we've seen in horror movies.
Oh yeah, I mean, that's a classic horror movie trope, right? I mean, you couldn't have your Morgan Freemans of the world or whatever in a horror film, because they'd solve it too quickly and ruin the film.
Yeah, in a horror movie, the maximum amount of good cops you can have is just one. And usually it's 0, but the maximum is 1.
Yeah, and he's got to have something keeping him from working the case, something that's happened in his own life, in order for it to work. Otherwise, you've got no movie. So,
Well, folks, that is the movie coverage we have for this week. I want to thank Blaine once again for coming on the show and suggesting this movie. Very happy with it. If someone wanted to know more about you and the podcast that you're host, how could they go about that?
Oh, well, we mentioned the couple of podcasts that I do when we started the show. They're easily accessible on virtually everything that you can listen to podcasts on, iTunes and Stitcher, I think, and all those type of things. So you just type that in the headers either. For the Is It Worth It podcast, because it is part of the Retro RPG show, type in Retro RPG and you'll see that. And then for Video Games the Movie, just type in Video Games the Movie, and I'm the one and only thing I believe that comes up on that. So yeah, you can find them there, and you can find me on Twitter at RetroKel, that's Khel. You can write me at Simon Belmont, not Simon, but Simon Belmont at Outlook.com. And I have a tribute page to Is It Worth It podcast on Facebook. If you just look up Is It Worth It podcast, you can find me there. We interact with our fans for all the different shows that we do on that page. And of course on Discord, which I don't know exactly how you get into Discord, but if you PM me or something, I'll figure it out, and I'm sure I can get you a link or something to be able to join directly. But otherwise, just search through Discord RPG show, and you'll find us there as well.
Excellent. Well, everyone, we want to hear from you. If you have a movie suggestion, questions, comments, truth or dare questions for us, You can get us on email at the graveyardshiftpod@gmail.com. You can reach us out to us on Twitter at GYS_horrorpod. And you can get us on Facebook at facebook.com/thegraveyardshiftpod. If a financial donation is possible, you can do that on www.patreon.com/graveyard. All proceeds go to the upkeep and promotion of the show. But of course, not everyone has the money to give us money. You can still help us out a ton by going onto iTunes, rate, review, subscribe. In the long run, really, that's the best way to help out the show. And if you're not on iTunes, not a problem. You can do exactly what you're doing. Just go onto Podbean, listen to the show each week, share it on social media, tell your horror friends about it. Really, everything helps.
Borrow your friend's phone and subscribe our feed for them, and don't tell them. Just let them wonder, why is my phone getting full? What the freak's going on? And just to double back on the Patreon for a bit, it's not just supporting the show, you're also getting exclusive extra content as well, from lists to extended reviews, where we're making sure that you get a little something for your buck besides the satisfaction of keeping us on the air.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we do a Patreon bonus episode once a month. We just did a extended episode of The Shining, some things that we didn't get to talk about in the Shining regular episode. And we covered the Shining TV movie. So go on there and check that one out. And got some nice bonuses there. We've got some. Once we reach a certain level, we're going to have a few giveaways, which brings me to the next point. We have a Pennywise Funko Pop giveaway. Not for Patreon. I mean, if you're a Patreon, yes, you can enter it as well. But with our review of the new It movie, if you listen to that bonus episode, we told you about how you can get in on our free giveaway of the Pennywise Funko Pop bobblehead. All you have to do is just... Actually, you know what? I'm not even going to tell you here. I'm going to save it. All you need to do is listen to our that is new It episode, the 2017 movie. You got instructions there of how to enter in our free giveaway. Very simple. Just go back and listen to the episode if you haven't already, and you'll know exactly what to do. So, gentlemen, before we go, any final thoughts?
This movie has changed. I feel like I just finished a workout after watching this movie. I burned some calories laughing.
That's great.
Good one.
Yeah.
So thank you for that, Blaine.
Yeah.
So that'll do it for us. So until next time, I'm Sheldon.
And I'm Mike.
And Blaine.
We'll catch you next time on the Graveyard Shift.
All I wanted was somebody to believe in me.
If you look behind his eyes,
I feel so empty.
you will see
All I ever wanted was Sharon's love.
the little boy that needed understanding.
Was that such a bad thing?
Now he's a man,
Is that so bad?
and in a world that's cold and so demanding,
That's all I wanted.
left alone to face his days without the answers little ones so need. Now he's stumbling in the dark for love and hope, a method to succeed. He's got a critical madness from questions that were left alone to grow. that needed faith and caring. Now he's alone, and all his days are void of warmth and sharing. Left alone to face his life without the guidance young men often seek. Now he's walking through a maze, so unprepared he could have been unique. He's got a critical madness from questions that were left alone to grow. He's got a critical madness from being